thought of what he could buy with the promised gold. "Yes, indeed. Your reward. Die now and live forever." The wicked, curved blade appeared in the rider's hand faster than the eye could follow, and Ahmed had no time to make a sound before his head was struck cleanly from his shoulders. The rider remounted and disappeared into the desert without a backward glance. In the morning, the archaeologists noticed the boy's absence, but thought little of it. They probably assumed he had returned to his people and mounted no search for him. The scavengers of the desert made short work of his body, and soon there remained no trace of it. The purse of Balfra had claimed another victim. Chapter 2. Salman bin Sa'id waited until he reached home before examining his prize. His house was much larger and more richly decorated than the average peasant abode, as befitted his wealth and status. He handed his mount's bridle to one of his servants, walked through the arch of the main entrance and into the spacious courtyard. He went up the stone steps on the left and entered his personal chamber. The room was painted in rich ochre. The walls and round pillars decorated with paintings of gods and scenes from ancient life. The shelves were of brown marble, and a brown upholstered divan couch lay in the middle of the room. Tables and chairs of mahogany were dotted around the room, many of them bearing small statues of black cats, gold sphinxes, and the ibis, the sacred bird of Egypt. He lay on the divan, then rang a small bell on the table by his head. A servant shuffled in, dressed in the traditional long shirt, the galabeya, his head covered by a skullcap or takia. He inclined his head to his master, but did not speak. "Mohammed, light the lamps, then bring me my sherbet and my hookah." The servant bowed his head again and left the room. 10 minutes later, the master of the house took a sip of sherbet, a long, contented draw on the flavoured tobacco in his water pipe, and finally opened his new possession. His eyes widened with pleasure. The old goatskin leather of the purse was almost perfectly preserved, soft and supple to the touch, as if it had been kept oiled for centuries. He opened the top and proceeded to remove the contents. First came the 3 papyri, thousands of years old, yet unbelievably still intact and readable to anyone who understood the old system of writing. They would take many months of painstaking work to decipher, but he knew he was equal to the task. Then came half a dozen reed pens, probably the same as had been used to write the papyri. Of limited use now, but still a valuable link to the past. A shaft of bronze, some 8 inches long, covered in what looked like human hair. "A serpent wand," he muttered. "Perhaps useful for parlour tricks." And finally the great prize itself. A flat, crescent-shaped wand of ivory, covered with ornate carvings. A crocodile, a frog, a cat, an ibis and a snake. A sun disk with legs, and a winged griffin. There were also representations of the god Set, and the goddess Taweret, but the largest and most prominent carving was of Anubis, jackal-headed god of the dead. A sigh of satisfaction escaped his lips. "Ah, the wand of Balfra. At last. With this, the power of life and death shall be mine." He shuddered with pleasure. Chapter 3. Jack Nightingale had more experience of violent death than any man ought to carry around with him. It was not something he ever dwelt on, at least not consciously. When he was working on a case, he pushed past horrors out of his mind to concentrate on the job at hand. But it was in the down times that they came back to haunt him, especially during night.